everyone. Thank you so much for joining our conversation. You probably need to postpone your lunch to do this, but I'm sure you'll be worth it. We have been talking about AI constantly these days, but not so much about deep tech, which is fueling the AI race behind the scenes. So today we aim to unpack deep tech in a way that most people like me outside the industry can understand. So first of all, let's give a short introduction about yourself and your involvement in deep tech to set the conversation. So I start with you, Kerry.
Hello, I'm Kerry Forrest. I've been working on fusion for about 40 years, first at national labs, then at industry, and at university. I like to say fusion isn't rocket science, it's much harder.
Thank you. So my name is Nicolas Sauvage. I'm the founder and president of TDK Ventures, the corporate VC arm of TDK. And we invest in very hard tech or deep tech solutions where material science matter and where we can help the portfolio companies de-risk both on science, engineering, but also deployment, commercialization, and very importantly, scaling, which is one of the biggest challenges sometimes in deep tech that we always forget about.
Yeah, Nicola, I know your company is investing heavily in deep tech, but people, like me, who are new to this term, just on the way here, the staff member for this conference was asking me, "Oh, what is deep tech?" So can you define, what deep tech is actually?
I think deep tech at the end is thinking about the smallest elements on Earth, whether it's atoms, photons, electrons, even biology, the smallest items, and how you make some magic out of it. And so if I think about nuclear fusion, for example, you need nearly all the science to work out, and then you have engineering to work out. And so deep tech for me is not software which you can scale instantly. It's something that's really, really hard to do, and you need to find the right funders who are passionate about the topic and who are going to make it successful. Of course, you need investors along the way to make it happen.
Yeah. Carol, would you like to add? Maybe give us some examples?
Yeah, I see deep tech as being a place where the principal risk is from the physical world as opposed to some market risk. The promises of deep tech usually are so big that the payoff would be infinite, and the difficulty is in making it happen through some scientific challenge, some technology challenge, finding unobtainium for the first wall of a fusion reactor, and knowing where all the bolts go and where to get them from, that kind of thing. So it's the physical world bumping up against the market. Yeah.
I think there is something you say about payoff, which could be huge. So we have invested in nuclear fusion as well, so we are clearly biased, both of us, for the space. It's clearly very, very difficult. The probability of success may be small, although you could argue it's about how much and how long we are going to invest in it. But if it works, actually, when it works, the payoff is going to be huge. Because baseload energy, like the previous presentation mentioned, this is what we need as a society. We need this clean, infinite, nearly free energy for everything we want to do. Power our homes, but also power AI. And so the payoff, I think, is a good element of what deep tech promise should bring us to.
Yeah, let's take a step back and look at the ambitions around AI. That's what this conference is about. But there is a mismatch between the AI ambition and demand and the infrastructure we have in place today. So where do you see the biggest limits or mismatch?
Maybe I'll take two different directions, also because the topic is about how to pitch deep tech. And so I'll start with an investment I made back in early 2020 in Grok, which was about AI inference. And the pitch of Jonathan Ross, the founder of the company, was very simple. You had mainframes, which was limited to very few places in the world. Then you had computers, which we had the ambitions to have in every tables, whether it's office or homes. And then you had mobile phones, which you can have in your pockets and bags, but you're not going to carry 10 of them. But then inference is infinite. We are limited by curiosity. You can use inference on everything. And so the inevitability of inference was very strong pitch from Jonathan. Now, when you talk about constraint, it's also about what's inevitable. And we moved from talking about TOPS and tokens to gigawatt. Why? Because to power AI, you need so much engineering marvels and ingenuity. It feels like we're back to building the pyramids. You need to get the energy generation right, whether it's nuclear fusion. We invested in Type 1 energy, geothermal. We invested in Rodasum, which is based in Calgary in Canada, but also energy storage. So last year we were in Web Summit with Peak Energy discussing about energy storage with different type of chemistry. And all the way to transformers. So we invested in Ampersand, which is helping with solid-state transformers, all the way to connectivity and compute, all the way to tokens. So think about all of these issues, physical aspect, physics-based challenges and bottlenecks that we need to work on to make AI a reality.
Yeah, Carrie, what do you think?
The AI is obviously a great target for fusion in the future. At the moment, the disconnect is basically time. The time scales on which AI is evolving are very, very fast. You need small teams of people, small investments and so forth can make big things happen. While fusion is still on an infrastructure scale, it's more on the deep tech side, I would say.
So yeah, fusion, we just had a whole session about fusion, and to me it still sounds like something from sci-fi film. And so what's fusion's role in powering AI, this AI race? Can you explain to us?
We're certainly not going to be powering AI centers next year. And in the long term, AI is certainly one application. Fusion offers very dense, continuous power energy sources that mankind needs. In my view, it has to be an all of the above strategy, and fusion will ultimately be playing a major role. But there are many other applications we see at Rialta, manufacturing, commercial, industrial heat for lots of applications.
You said ultimately, can you give us a timeline? How many years are we away?
Yeah, I much prefer answering the question, how much money is it going to take, than how long it will take. I think it's going to require a certain investment to get there, and with the right budget, we could get there in 10 years, I think. 5 to 10 years, yep.
Yeah, that's pretty soon for the tech world.
Maybe I'm even more ambitious than that. So
first of a kind.
Yeah, I think that's how I was going to reframe, which is first of a kind, which is really the first blueprint for scaling. I think we can see that in 2030, so 4 years from now. And if I look at Type 1 Energy, they already have a customer, TVA, and they already have the plant identified, which actually symbolically is really good. It used to be a coal plant, which is now going to become a nuclear fusion plant. I also want to take advantage of talking about nuclear fusion to make sure the audience understands the difference between fission and fusion. Fission is very easy to do, but it's very, very dangerous because it can go out of hands. While nuclear fusion is really hard, and that's why we've been doing it for decades and decades, and we're just getting to the point where it works, and we can start to the science is de-risked, and we can work on the engineering challenge and the scaling challenge. And what's beautiful about fusion is if something was to go wrong, it's a fail-safe system built in. The fusion just stops. And that's something I think that we need to really understand why the promise of fusion is so important and when the payoff could be so big.
If fusion is still something, at least a few years down the line, let's talk about maybe something closer to us. On Monday, BC announced the plan to build more data centers. So what's deep tech's role in help powering data centers in nowadays?
Everywhere. I mean, it's all the electrification, so getting the right supply of energy, transporting it, transforming it, like I mentioned about the transformers from Ampersand, but there are other solutions, but solid state is perfect for that. powering AI and hyperscalers and data centers. Think about the cooling, the thermal management, extremely challenging. Think about all the improvements. We had PH7 presenting earlier about copper and the fact we are going to be out of copper faster than we are building these data centers. All of these physical challenges are going to become bottlenecks. And that's why I like to say that we invest in boring technologies because they don't look like it's inevitable, but we actually believe that 4 years from now, it will become obvious. They are going to solve the bottlenecks that no one or very few people already see in the marketplace today.
Carrie, do you have anything to add? On data centers specifically?
I have very little to add on data centers explicitly, but I certainly think we need to be building things, and it's the mundane things that's going to ultimately hit us. The supply chain, knowing where the bolts go, design, talent to put things together. That's going to be true in deep tech.
And if we think about how we like to see entrepreneurs pitching to us, which is back to the panel topic, we want to make, of course, we're excited about technology. We're engineers ourselves at TDK Ventures. We love technology, but we have to start from what it is that is going to solve, which is not yet obvious today. And we like to invest 4 years before it's obvious. Part of it is because if it's obvious, it would be priced in, but also because 4 years early is where we can have maximum impact for the projects of the entrepreneurs to de-risk the science, de-risk the technology, de-risk the deployment, and help with the superpower that comes from our TDK companies to help the entrepreneurs in their journey. So think about it from how do we look at the pitch from a point of view of this is an inevitable problem that not many people see. We are going to be able to de-risk it and accelerate it, and this is important for society.
So it sounds like as investors, you are looking at where the bottlenecks are, and the bottlenecks can be opportunities.
Absolutely. We have this concept of backcasting, so we dream different type of futures. Some futures could be quite negative, like we can't get access to lithium or cobalt or nickel like we used to have access to. Some could be beautiful, like free energy from nuclear fusion, or it could be about the beautiful smart home. And then we try to backcast from this 10 years vision and see which entrepreneurs are working on this topic right now, and then why and how they either improve that future or make it more likely, or they mitigate a negative future so that we can be more prepared to mitigate it. And that's why we invest in these entrepreneurs, because we've done this backcasting from different uncorrelated futures.
Carrie, you are a researcher and founder of a deep tech company. Do you think the way investors like Nicola evaluate deep tech companies is fair?
I can say a few things about that. The challenge in this area is that we're trying to satisfy two customers at once: nature and the investors. And nature doesn't care at all about the pitch decks. So we're in a difficult position that way. I think deep tech investors are certainly more savvy, and they understand the long-term benefit, and increasingly understand the value that's created by meeting certain milestones which are laid out and negotiated early. And the promise, of course, is there. That's the easy thing. You focus on the promise of fusion. It's easy to sell. And then it comes down to where do you actually retire risk at the right stage or early enough to add value to the company.
And nature always wins.
Nature always wins.
Very clear. But I think something Carrie said, which is very important, which is savvy investors. And maybe this is a tip for the entrepreneurs in the room, is really listen to the questions being asked. Do they really ask the right questions? Do they really understand what you're doing? If the questions are basic, they're probably not the investors you want. If, however, they really understand where the risks are, they're so good, because if they join your cap table, because they understand the risk as well as you do, they will be able to help you de-risk these risks. So for me, savvy investors should be a positive signal for entrepreneurs to decide to go with them versus those who don't.
But Carrie, is there anything you think investors are maybe overlooking, or you wish they understand more about deep tech when they make their investment decisions?
I think it's certainly important to have due diligence that's meaningful. I'm nervous for my industry that we have credible companies that are able to be put forward that pass a certain level of scientific credibility, and I think investors are getting better at that. And certainly, there's almost an industry coming up around that topic. So establishing credibility to be able to weather the ups and downs of the funding cycles going forward is very important to me for seeing fusion through. And so educating the investors in such a way that they understand the risk, like you were saying, is very important.
Yeah, that leads to my next question. So we hear a lot of hype about deep tech and a lot of noise as well. So what can investors, engineers, and infrastructure builders act upon today versus what's still further out? I start with you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I would really recommend every entrepreneurs to think about where are the future bottlenecks. And you can make assumptions that AI will do 100x in the next 5 years. Let's assume that. And that's an assumption. Then look at what it is that's going to break first. Do you believe it's going to be on the energy generation? Do you think it's in the energy storage? Do you think it's in the compute? Do you think it's going to be in the connectivity? For example, we invested in companies like Eridu AI and Mix, and in the past Nubis, which was acquired by Sienna. We look at what it is that are the bottlenecks, and so entrepreneurs thinking what are the likely bottlenecks and betting on solving these bottlenecks before they become real challenges for societal growth. This is really the place to go for, I think, entrepreneurs. Think about, I mean, you started in fusion way before it became an option. You're going to see it coming to fruition now. This is going to be so meaningful.
Yeah, maybe I can add one thing, which is, for me, the reason I'm so deeply into this new technology is because of technological breakthroughs that made it possible to do things that weren't possible before. High field magnets changed the story completely for real-to fusion. Suddenly we're able to revisit ideas that were premature 30 years ago, which now are possible because we have 20 Tesla magnets.
Yeah, my last question is, which deep tech areas do you think we should be watching out closely in the next few years? Give us some tips.
Nuclear fusion.
Of course.
We definitively need nuclear fusion, but we need a full spectrum of solutions. I mean, nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, geothermal, sodium-ion batteries, solid-state transformers, carbon capture solutions so that you have net zero data centers. I'm hoping this is what you're going to do in BC. Everything to do with connectivity and computing and thermal management. Think about the cooling. Think about making sure that there is recycled materials. So whether it's PGM with pH7, for example, that's just presented earlier, or think about lithium battery recycling, like Ascend Elements is doing, or solvent-free battery process like AM Battery is doing. There is so many places we can do better, and we have to, and that's why we love what we do at TDK Ventures, because we invest in amazing startups that are really contributing to society while working on what Carrie said, a massive payout. And that's where you can do well and do good at the same time.
Yeah, lots of opportunities ahead. Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.